Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Ryan. I know you guys are up and down offensively. Right now, you guys are 96th in the country rushing per game. So I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but the O-line up there, far and schematic. What are you seeing with this? The biggest call?
Yeah, I watched the film, and you know, I think we have the personnel to do it. You know, when you look at some of the plays that we ran, I think there was probably one play that schematically I felt like we were going uphill. I think for the most part, you know, the schemes we ran, there was really pretty good looks. Now there was an extra guy there, a lot, especially when we had two tight ends in the game, and that opened up some things in the past game, which was good. But we just got to execute it better. We got to coach it better. That starts with me, and you know, we got to, you know, figure out a way whether, you know, we're doing too much, too little, whatever that is. But I felt like the scheme and what we were doing was very sound, and I think we have the right guys. So what does that come down to? We got to coach it better.
Expect that trade this week?
Yes.
Over to the right, Dobbs Berry, WBNS.
Coach, since 2000, the Buckeyes are 3-5 overall save.
Jeez.
Anything you can put a finger on why over there?
No, I can't. But I know it's been a difficult place to play for sure, and this team's no different. They're very well coached. They have good players, and I know they'll have a great atmosphere there. So you know, we're into October now, middle of the season, playing on the road in the Big Ten, and you know, all these games are critical and difficult. So we got to have a great week of preparation, and you know, this is about what we expect this time of year.
Knowing that the history, and if you do anything different this week to make sure.
No, we're still growing. We're working. We're a work in progress in all areas. We got to keep building, so we're nowhere we need to be, and that's okay. But we gotta be hungry this week, and we gotta have urgency, and we gotta fight to get better. And you know, our guys feel that. You know, you can see that. There's some things we did well on Saturday, but things we got to get better at. And so, you know, Purdue is just next on the list.
Third row right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
You have a quarterback against a quarterback that you're trying to kind of just bring along and you got the league. How do you balance introducing new things to him, or is it a thing where you just want to see and do things you're asking him well, but also like trying to introduce the concept? I guess where's he at on that? I mean, you're introducing things to the captain.
I think it depends on who you're playing. It depends if there are things that you've done in the past that fit. Then certainly you want to do that. If there's things schematically that, based on the team you're playing, you may need to adjust a little bit and put on the field. I think that's kind of the art of trying to figure out how to put your team in the best position to be successful. But now that we're, you know, 5 games in, there's at least a body of work, and there's, you know, the plays we practice, the plays we run in games, and then every week you'll have some new wrinkles.
Are you reaching a point where maybe you need to add more of them, just maybe to help alleviate some of those concerns, or going to be able to reduce with the box a little bit?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at everything right now for sure, and yeah, I mean, the quarterback and everybody's got to do their part. Everybody, and the quarterback's one of them.
Third row left, Andy Anders, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, so a lot of two tight end personnel, it seemed like even more than you guys have used all season. Was that matchup based, or was that maybe an increased confidence in G in this one?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I thought, you know, he's practiced well when he deserves to get on the field, and it certainly did allow us an opportunity to be explosive in the past game. You can see that, you know, there was some really big plays out there, and that was good. So, you know, when you have 3 surfaces on both sides or a 4-man surface, you know, there's just different wrinkles for the defense to have to deal with, and you know, the goal is to you know, score as many points as possible and move the ball. But you know, there's certain areas obviously we need to get better at, but we'll keep looking at different personnel groupings to put as much stress as we can on the defense.
Far left, Joe Nugent, WCMH.
With the slow starts, is part of the challenge identifying why it is happening? You can obviously attack from there.
I mean, I think in particular on Saturday, you know, we missed a couple of things early on, and then we had the botched snap. So I think it just kind of culminated there. I don't think the defense was slow. I think that the first throw and catch was unbelievable. You know, Davison was right there. You know, the quarterback threw it on time, and it was well executed and put the defense in a tough spot. So I think the defense was ready to roll. And you know, we found our rhythm a little bit later on in the game for the offense, but I think, just a combination of that with the botch snaps, or they didn't start the way we wanted to. So we got to figure out a way to do a little better of that on offense so we can get a rhythm going for the whole team. But that comes with preparation and putting it on the field, and we'll try to do it as coaches, try to get the guys in the right plays early on to help with that, but they also have to take some ownership of it.
Deep center field, Jeremy Birmingham, the podcast.
Brian, there's been a lot of conversation with Jim Knowles and how the defense has recalibrated itself and changed some philosophies. Has there been anything offensively that you felt you've changed heading into this year? And if not, is there something holistically that you think maybe you need to change on offense?
No, I mean, I don't think philosophically we've changed anything. We know that, some of the teams that have slowed down, that has changed a little bit in terms of how we've approached our game planning. But other than that, no, I mean, you try to find the right things that fit the guys that you have at the time, knowing that, especially when you get in November or October and November, you're gonna get some bad weather days. You got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to run the ball in the red zone. You got to be able to convert on short yardage, all those types of things. So that has to be part of your game, and that hasn't really changed. We're going to continue to work towards that, but also be explosive as we possibly can on offense.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS.
Coach, I feel like last year you talked a lot about competitive excellence and getting up for games even if they aren't, the games circle on the calendar. But this year, undefeated Maryland, obviously you can't sleep on Purdue with the history there. Then you've got Penn State, Wisconsin. How do you guys constantly keep getting up knowing that the next game is just another game?
Yeah, we call it competitive stamina, and we still do. We still talk about that, bringing it every week, and it's something that comes up this time of year because of exactly what you're saying. And it's not about the team we're playing, it's always about us, but we're just in a constant grind to get better and to improve in all these different areas. And we know, our first goal was to win the first game, then win the next 10, and then win the rivalry game. And we have these goals, and so we knew this was going to be a long stretch. We talked about it during the bye week, and you got to bring it every week. That's part of the deal. When you come to Ohio State, you're not allowed to have a bad day.
When you look at early on in the season, you talked about balancing with hardline the offensive duties. How is that through 5 games panned out for you guys?
Yeah, good. I think we got a good good synergy on offense, and there's certainly all kinds of areas that we want to get better at. That's unlike any other organization, but no, I think we got a good group of guys.
Right in front of them, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Reading the notes here, they have a freshman who at the D tackle who has 3 picks. He leads the Big Ten in solo tackles. Is he somebody you have to scheme against?
I mean, I think they're doing a great job. Schematically, Coach came over from Illinois, and they did a nice job there. He's coached at Missouri. He's coached in some really good places, and good defenses have followed him. And he's got to recruit really good players. He has really good players now. So he seems like a really intelligent guy who gets his guys in the right spot, and they play hard. So yeah, I mean, we look hard at the personnel and make sure that the matchups are right.
Fourth row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Road.
Brian, do you have an update on Emeka though?
No, not right now. One thing I can tell you is that it's not going to be a long-term issue. We'll probably have a better idea how he's doing later in the week. But good news was it's not a long-term issue, and we'll kind of reevaluate as the week goes on.
Kyle was 8 of 11 on first down, 187 yards and a touchdown. How much does that take pressure off the running game to be perfect when you've got a quarterback that's that efficient on first down?
Well, that's it. The goal was to get 4 yards on first down, and if teams are going to load the box, then he's got to do a great job of being efficient in that exact spot. And when you can do that, then like you said, it takes pressure off the run game. It all goes together. So whether we're talking about the quarterback making checks or throwing the ball or whatever those things are, reading people, he has to do his part. And part of that is exactly what you're saying. And that's like the first play of the game, we don't complete the bubble. That's part of the run game. We've got to complete those balls. That's got to be like a long handoff. That's what we call it. He knows that. But yeah, I mean that's a big part of what we're doing.
Right next door, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Right. Maryland and Notre Dame, both weeks, you guys rushed for, I think it was less than a yard and a half before contact. look at those films, do you see a common thread there, or was it just what you said for it?
No, I think we can do a better job of getting movement up front. I think we can do a better job of getting to the second level and getting the running backs there. I think the running backs can do a better job of seeing it. So, it's a little bit here, a little bit there, and I'm not just going to sit here and tell you it's one or two things. And so we're just going to keep swinging at it. And that's kind of sometimes how the run game goes. You got to keep working to get better at it, and that's not going to be any different this week.
Do you think, do you expect to get Mine more work, or, I know you said Trey probably coming back, but how do you see that rotation?
Well, again, we'll see as the week goes on, how that shakes. But I thought he ran hard when he had his opportunity in the game on Saturday.
Bill Landis, the podcast.
Right here, I know that kind of stretch wide zone run has sort of been your base run play since you've kind of been the head coach here. Especially last week, it just didn't seem like it was getting blocked very well. And I'm just wondering, what is the conversation with the staff in terms of what you want to do, like to do, and what your mind can do? And I don't know, there's going to be a shift there if that plays not in the way.
No, it's a great question. It's a constant conversation. You can imagine it was brought up again this week, and trying to identify exactly that. Schematically, you're trying to figure out what your guys can do well, and then does it fit your backs? Does it fit your line? Does it fit your quarterback? Trying to find the right angles, and the one thing about the stretch play is it gets people out in space. It's not just a bunch of guys in a small area. And when you're in the pistol, you don't give away, running one way or another. You can get downhill. There's a lot of positives to it, but you're right. I mean, we're looking at all those things and trying to make sure that we can find the right mixture for these guys.
Last year, it seemed like Dallin was able to give you guys a real spark you needed it from the running back position. He's just not played a whole lot. I know it's hard to get everyone a touch, especially if you're fully healthy. But like last week, when you don't have Trey, did you give any consideration to playing Dallin more? And I guess why has he not been so much part of that?
Yeah, we talked about it in the preseason, going into the season, and what we didn't want to do is put down in a situation where, with three running backs, we were going to use up a year of eligibility for him. Now, he's ready to go, he's practicing, and if appropriate, we'll put him in the game. But we also don't want to, have him play in, 5 or 6 games without getting a bunch of work in. We just don't think that's the right thing to do for Dallin. But Dallin's ready to go. Dallin was great about it. And, if it's appropriate, he will go in because he still has 4 games to play. And then we wouldn't, burn a whole year of eligibility with Dallin as we look into the future, because we do think he's great. I think he's a really good player. We have 3 guys already there. So that's kind of the conversation that we had. And he was great. He's working hard. And we'll definitely consider that as we move forward.
Tony Gergen, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, recruiting, while you've got all of this stuff going on in your mid-season and everything, are you still able to separate yourself when you get a commitment from a kid who has wanted to be a Buckeye his entire life? When you get that call, what's that like for you?
No, it's exciting. It's great. Like you said, our focus right now is so much about the season, and you have to compartmentalize yourself a little bit, which is hard for me to do during the season, especially on game day when recruits are here. But they're coming to visit for a different reason. They're coming to see the game, and they know that. But yeah, great. Anytime when you kind of get that kind of information, and that's part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to show how we develop players, show progress on offense, defense, special team, so that we can recruit better and better players.
And then, what's it like being able to provide that kind of opportunity?
Yeah, I usually don't think about it this time of year, but I mean that's really what we're doing. Is we're making an impact on young people. We're giving young people an opportunity, and when people come in, they have an idea of how it's going to go, and it doesn't always exactly go that way. But just think about some of the things that have happened even just in the last few years with some of our guys, and the opportunity to be a Buckeye and have an impact on other people in the community has been tremendous. Whether it's on the field, off the field, that's what this is all about. And so yeah, sometimes you have to stop, take a deep breath, and realize that. And that's when you bring somebody into the fold like that, you're starting somebody's new story at Ohio State. And one thing I tell the recruits all the time: there's nothing that can't be done here. I mean, the sky's the limit at Ohio State.
Right next door, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Right. After the game, you talked about the poise of your team, and like that. Does that come top-down, the captains, leaders, kind of the way that those guys handle themselves?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, we do have good leadership. We have several guys in the team that have embraced that role, and when challenged, they've responded well to that. You know, whether it's guys who like to speak up or guys that maybe haven't spoken up in the past, they bring a calming presence to the team, which is important, especially when guys have been in these types of situations before. It's not all new. And again, I think that that's going to pay off here, the next couple months.
Did you notice that Notre Dame, was it before the season? I mean, when does that kind of come into your mind? Okay, this is something this team can lean on.
I think you just see the personalities of the guys on the team, and you see that they played in games before, and there's a level of maturity that they handle themselves with and communicate with that leads you to believe they're going to be able to handle different scenarios and game situations.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, Cade is playing a bigger role than we've seen from a tight end here in a long time in the passing game. What do you think he's done that's enabled him to be such a big part of the passing game this year?
Well, the first is he takes a lot of snaps. He does a lot of the dirty work. He blocks, and because of that, he creates pass and run conflicts. And that isn't always the case when you're with 3 receivers in the game. When you start to get into 2 tight ends, we don't really run as many 3 tight ends. But in those type of personnel groupings, you can create a lot of pass and run conflicts on linebackers, on safeties. And I think that's what you're seeing with Cade. Now, he's also run some really nice routes out in the open, just drop back pass. But I think you're seeing some of the play action open up because of some of his dirty work.
You mentioned route running. How much growth have you seen from him in that area compared to where he was a year or 2 ago?
Yeah, I think he's playing faster. When, I said this before, when you're a tight end, you have to block like an old lineman, run like a receiver, and protect like a running back. And it isn't, first thing, you have to find someone that can do it. Second, you have to find someone that can handle it mentally. And third, you have to find someone that can sustain it. I got to go block a defensive end, I got to block a defensive end, and I got to get open against a defensive back down the field. Then I got to do it all over again for 60, 70 plays. And so that takes, some real stamina that he's built up over time.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
We'll get 4 yards on first down, see how we stand in the football. But when that doesn't happen for you guys, when that doesn't happen, how is that setting you back as a play caller and what's open for you going forward, just in a drive in general?
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. We got to get at least 4 yards. If you get more than that, then certainly things open up more, and you're setting things up better. So it's a huge part of the offense and how we call it, and how we do it.
In second and 10, should we kill a drive before you get started?
Well, it sets you back because now you're playing left-handed for sure. The one thing that, like you said, negative plays or 0-yarded plays is really, when you look at drive killers, those are big. So whether it's a penalty, a sack, TFL, or incomplete pass, that can really set you back. So we try to do everything we can. When we shoot the ball down the field, certainly the percentages go down in terms of your completion. If you're 50-50 on those type of plays, it's probably a pretty good day. But you also have to consider that into the equation when you're building a game plan.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Find actually the fake punt, or everyone wants to fake punt, the snap, not fake punt. More distinction there. I guess what happened on that? What could sort of prevent that from happening again? What do you address that?
I just asked what happened, and then the ball slipped. So I was as surprised as anybody. So that can't happen again.
The punt you had in the play, receiver, illegal formation. What's your role feeling with it? Thank you.
Well, I mean, the muff snap certainly didn't help anything. So I mean, that's the life of a long snapper, a punter, and a field goal kicker. We call one shot, one kill, like a sniper. I mean, you don't have an opportunity to be wrong. And so, I think those guys understand that, and they'll work hard to get that fixed. Xavier on that play was lined up, he was a hair into the backfield, so we got to get him up. It was close, but he's got to get up on the line of scrimmage. So, just detail on that one for Xavier, somebody who's usually very accountable. So, but across the board, yeah, I mean, we need special teams to be an advantage for us. And so again, we'll work hard this week to, maximize that area because it's a third of the game.
Doug Maurice, Kings of Columbus, and the podcast.
Brian, I feel like we asked similar questions last year about this. You guys just statistically are more successful passing the ball than running the ball right now. So why not just pass the ball? And how does, you mentioned, November Big Ten games, how does being in Ohio instead of being in Florida or Texas or California influence your thought process?
Well, I think it all goes together. I think at the end of the day, you have to move the ball. That's the bottom line. But like you said, there's going to be games here coming up that it's going to be raining, it's going to be windy, and you're not going to have an opportunity to just line up in 4 and 5 wides and throw it all over the yard. So, the other thing is, this year when you're playing, you have a good defense and a young quarterback. You're maybe less likely to take as many chances early on. But then there comes a time where you can't beat your head against the wall either. So finding that rhythm is what's important, because the number one goal is to win games. But we got to keep building. We got to keep getting better. We got to keep pushing the envelope in all areas, because we want to have that balance, and we know that we're going to need both sides of the offense, both running and passing.
And you guys do have a full-time special teams coach here. It feels like special teams has come up going back to last year at the end of the year, maybe more often than would be expected. You talk about a level of detail. Should your level of detail on special teams be better when you have a full-time coach devoted to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want all of our detail to be better just across the board. But I can tell you that we work really hard on special teams. I think that the coaching detail is there. I think we just need to hold each other accountable, and again, it starts with me. So I got to help coach it better, and hold the coaches accountable and the players accountable to play at a high level. And because we want it to be a weapon for us. We want it to be an area that we're winning on. And there's been some good things, and just like offense and defense, there's areas we got to get better at.
Fourth row right, Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Ryan, you called them 4-point plays in the red zone, turning field goals into touchdowns. That's been a struggle for you guys this season. What can you attribute to some of those red zone struggles?
There's been some good things too. I thought it was, Kyle threw 2 back-to-back touchdowns. That was great to see him. That was the most confident I've seen him in the pocket back-to-back 2 in a row like that. That was well done. I thought we hit the sweep really well to Maya, and that was well executed. Julian Fleming came down and did a nice job on the Mike linebacker. So those were good. When I look at that, the one drive there, we called the screen there. We knew we were getting 0 coverage, and the 3 technique or 4-eye didn't quite rush the way we thought he would, and he ended up right in the passing lane. And so Kyle did a nice job of pitching the ball, even though he got an intentional grounding. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. So that one hurt us. And then we went down on the next drive. Called a play action pass. The safety didn't come down the way that maybe we thought he would have after we ran the other play. And Kyle did a good job of throwing that away. We didn't get what we wanted on the power play. We just didn't get enough movement up front. Didn't quite hit it the maybe we wanted to hit it, to at least create a situation where it could have been a 2-down situation. And then we tried the throwback to Cade and got too much penetration up front. So, I can kind of go through every play and recognize the areas, but it comes down to execution at the end of the day.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Brian, did you have to run on Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to be fine, but it feels like you're getting a number of apologies from the Big Ten or post-game explanations. What is your involvement in trying to get that clarity afterwards? What is your level of frustration with the way it's seemingly happening every single game?
Yeah, like you said, it's hard for me to say much. But I can just tell you this, that it's my job to advocate for the players and compete. I mean, there's so much on the line every single Saturday, and so you got my word. I'm gonna, go as hard as I possibly can to defend our players, to make sure that they have the best environment to be successful. That's the best way I can put it.
What do you do with apology letters from granules?
No comment.
Barrett, Cleveland.com.
When you have a unit like with the offensive line right now, I know you're trying to improve every position all season. When you have one that's a little bit farther behind right now, can you afford to alter things in practice to account for that?
Yeah.
Bring that group along? Like, how do you do that and what does it cost you?
No, I think that's exactly right. I think you got to figure out, okay, what are the areas that we're maybe coming up short in? Now, this is just with everybody, but, you know, just like anybody else in any other line of work, I'm sure, is, you know, if there's areas you got to improve on, we got to look at everything. Got to look at, what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're preparing, how we're practicing it, how we're calling it. I mean, every part of it, and you know that's going on.
You said you think you have the personnel right now, but coming into the season, there was a lot of talk about how Luke was looking early on, how Matt did come on, Tedder Spola. So is there still a gap between where those guys are at and where your 5 starters are
I think so. Yeah. When we looked hard at it, I just don't see any of those guys right now pushing. I'd like to see that, but don't see them like pushing on the door enough to say, you know, someone deserves 20, 30 snaps in a game just yet. But there's still a lot of football left to play, and you know, it's feel free to make a push. You know, we want that in practice.
Right behind him, Jeff Gilbert, Press Pros.
Excuse me, back to the run game thing still. The line, the personality the teams have, this group as a line, what's their personality and how does it need to evolve to be what you want it to be?
Yeah, I think when I always say execution fuels emotion, I think when we are executing, you see that emotion come into play, and I think that's a huge part of it. So, I don't think they're not playing hard. I don't see that part of it. I think they're working to play hard. They're working to play physical. And there's certain areas like hand placement, pad level, identification of things that we can all improve on. But it's not just the offensive line either. I think the running backs have to take some responsibility. The quarterback's got to take some responsibility. The wide receivers, the tight end. I mean, everyone's got to do their part here. So we're all looking at it and pushing to make it better.
You're working with them hard. Does it feel like we're all picking on them a little bit, or do you feel like this is kind of justified all the questions?
This is the expectation. I get it. Nobody wants to run the ball more than me. So, the bottom line is if they're going to put that many guys down in the box, there's probably going to be open receivers down the field with the guys that we have. I get that part of it, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to abandon the run game. I've been down that road before, and throwing for 450 yards in a game is great, but it's going to catch up with you later in the season if you can't figure out how to run the ball. And I've learned my lesson on that, and so we're just going to keep pushing as hard as we can to make sure that we have the balance we need to win the games we need. I think that's the best you can do as a coach, but we're also going to win the games, and whatever that takes. But we know what we need to do. We know what it looks like. We got good coaches, we got good players, so we'll keep swinging on it.
Far left, Justin Holbrook, WCMH.
Going back to opportunity, just for you personally, what is it like to see guys that you said everybody's path looks different and it takes guys longer, they don't expect maybe where they're going to end up, or for a guy like Josh to have a game like he did, or a Chip 2 games ago, just for you, what's it like to see them stick with it and have that come to fruition?
Well, we're only 5 games in, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a guy who's been through a lot. You think of Lathan and Josh both, broken legs and injuries and different things they've been through. But that's what makes life great. I mean, we all go through adversity in our life, and if you haven't, it's coming around the corner. And so that's what shapes your character and who you are, and that's the rewarding part of coaching, is to help young men work through that adversity, whether it's losing somebody in their life, injuries, struggling to get on the field, bad games, whatever they're struggling in academically, socially, mentally, physically, whatever the things are. We've had all the above here. That's as a position coach. I don't get that as much anymore, but as a head coach, overseeing it all, that's why you coach. You didn't get into coach to do anything other than have an impact on people, and that is the rewarding part of it. Now, you have to win every game. If you don't win every game at Ohio State, they're going to find another coach. So that's part of the job, but that's not the reason why you coach. The reason you coach is to have an impact on people, and our coaching staff believes in that.
When did you start to see that level of consistency that he can be trusted to do that and perform every single game?
Well, I think it's been a long road for Josh. It has. There's been a lot of ups and downs, and he's stuck through it. He's persevered. He's come out the back end, and now he's the best version of himself. Now it's week to week, but you're seeing what he's capable of.
I guess that you did lose the ball, whatever on that line, that high foot. Is it just possible that this talent on the line is just not quite what you want to do right now?
I think that's hard for me to say because, I believe in our guys and I think, they're plenty good enough to go win every game. So, I'd tell you if I didn't think so. And so then what we're going to do is just continue to grow to get better. I mean, there was a point where, Paris Johnson wasn't quite where he needed to be. He was in his sophomore year, he was at right guard, and then he moved over to tackle, and then as the season went on, he got better and better. So we're going to keep pushing these guys to get better and better because, like you said, the expectation is so high.
Okay, we'll wrap things up with Tim May. On three, Letterman Row.
Yeah, just three quickies. I was going to ask a smart aleck, but I'm not. But on the Xavier Johnson illegal motion penalty, what's the coaching point there, or was it?
Yeah, the penalty was called because he was going towards the line of scrimmage to gain an advantage.
Right.
So we can't be going towards the line of scrimmage when we go into motion.
So he was. I mean, when you watched the video, that was correct.
That was what it was called.
Yeah, that's a legit.
That's what it was called.
As you sit here right now, sort of dovetailing off all the questions about the offensive line, are you sitting here right now? Are you disappointed in the progress thus far? What word would you use to describe that? Is it just guys slow in recognition of what's going on in a particular play? 'Cause I would think you have answers for almost anything a defense does throw at you in some form or fashion. Just what word would you use, I guess?
I think if we were talking about a particular play, we could probably watch the film and I can tell you on each play what needs to get better. And again, when you look at it and you say, it's personnel, it's coaching, or it's scheme, I mean, I'm very, very critical of that. There were a couple plays that we probably could have called in a different, and so that got us off schedule. But for the majority of them, I thought they were decent. I thought the angles and the leverage was decent on the plays. And then, look at the personnel, like, were we just getting flat out beat? I think we can do a better job with our hands, yes. We need to do a better job with our pad level, yes. But then just, between the line and the running back and just the overall execution, it wasn't there. So, I don't know if I have a word other than we're just gonna keep swinging on this thing. And, it's one of those things where if you can solve it, it's gonna be rewarding because, we're working so hard at it, but everybody's gotta take responsibility.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is there is no simple answer to a question like that at this point. And then number two, as you sit here right now, I know it's not on the wait time and all this kind of stuff. How would you describe your please, or you pleased, whatever, what word would you use to describe where your defense is right now compared to the way it left last year? I mean, is it remarkably improved? How would you describe it? Because you watched the video.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell right now where we're at, but you're seeing some good play, you're seeing more experienced play, you're seeing guys who are able to take meetings to the field, they're able to get in and out of defenses pretty quickly, they're able to react faster. And probably the word that I like to use better is anticipation. They're able to anticipate things as opposed to reacting. We don't know what that looks like. It's kind of hard to quite verbalize other than that. But again, you know when you see it. They're playing faster. They're seeing it. They're communicating well. But the challenge is going to be, can you bring it every week?